Okay, the second part of this recipe, where I started with a pie dough for a cherry pie, is the pie dough that I used for that. I've got some extra that I made, and I'm going to make what I call cinnamon twirls. Probably all over the country, moms all over the country have probably called this different things, but that's what I grew up knowing them as. So we're going to roll out this dough, and it's going to be thin, so it's going to take extra flour to keep it from sticking to the table. And this is something that can bake at the same temperature as the pie. And I've tried to keep it from sticking to the table now, because as I roll it up, I don't want it sticking and then having to use a knife. So and it's still too thick right now. This is way too thick, so. And you have to take a kind of a light approach to it as you use the rolling pin. Just kind of like up and then back and forth. Don't try to press it all out at one time. Do it in light, even strokes. And if it doesn't have a solid edge there, that's all right. All right, now, next, I'm going to put a layer of butter on. I'm going to use my fingers because a knife will probably tear through it. It's a thinness now that it can't really handle anything, any kind of a tool, and you've got to be able to tell what the touch is on how much of a firm pressure to use. And I use a fairly good layer of butter because you want it to not be dry. I may have to get more butter out of the fridge, but I'll go with this first. I've let this butter sit for probably about 20 minutes to kind of get it to room temperature or closer to room temperature. Like I said, this is something that can sit on a countertop, or you can put it in a little bin for any time the kids, or anyone in the house for that matter, wants a little something tiny and just a snack, a light snack. This is something that would work. It's the edges are a little harder to do because they want to lift off when you're putting something sticky on it like that. You just have to take it slow and easy out to the edges. And again, this doesn't take very long. It's fairly quick, actually. All right, let's put a little butter. All right, next step is cinnamon. I just use ground cinnamon, and you want to just shake it all over. You want a fair amount, don't overdo it, but Another idea that you might consider is, instead of butter and cinnamon, try a fruit that your family likes, a fruit preserve or a spread of some sort. If your family really likes apricot preserves, for instance, that's something you could try instead of butter and instead of cinnamon. And that might be a little fruit treat that you could get them to eat where they won't maybe eat fruit otherwise. Next is sugar. And I'm just going to regular table sugar. You could also use brown sugar if you'd rather do that. That's a little thicker and a little heavier sugar, but all right. Now, next, we start to roll it up. We start with one edge, the edge closest to you, and you start rolling it up. And as you get to other areas where it's kind of an uneven edge there, just work that into it. And by making sure that it didn't stick before I started spreading things on, it shouldn't be sticking anywhere while I'm trying to roll it up. And this will make a nice big batch of what I call cinnamon twirls. I've heard them called cinnamon swirls. I guess maybe your family could make up a whole new name if that's what you want to do. Call them something that you like, that's cute or fun or whatever. And once I've got it rolled up, I bring it back over here. I kind of mush in the end just a little. All right. All right, then I'm going to start cutting little sections. I do them at about 1 inch. All right, and then I put that on a cookie sheet. And I turn them on the swirl side down, the cut side down, I should say. And I press them down just a little bit. And if one side wants to fall off the open edge, you can always mash that back down. So they're going to be slightly different sizes depending on where in the roll they came, they cut from. So the center of the roll is always going to be the thickest. And they can touch each other, although don't try to cram them all next to each other because they may not bake as evenly that way. All right, that makes 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 20, 23. Sometimes it'll make 24, sometimes it'll make 2 dozen. That'll also go in the oven at 425. Those take about 15 minutes, and then they're done. And like I said, they really hit the spot. Hope you enjoy those.